and welcome to Das German Kritic. Well, hey, außer mir macht's ja keiner. And let me throw a name out there. Roland Emmerich. Yeah, makes you want to peel your frigging eyes out of your skull, doesn't it? Well, thankfully, he only produced the movie we're about to watch. He didn't write or direct it, so yeah, I think we're in good hands. So, we've had a rat infestation and discussed the horrors of a nuclear fallout, but what if we're affected by something that we can't control? Something that is so beyond our capabilities as human beings that we just have to idly stand by and let it happen. Something like, say, the sun itself. This is where hell comes in. Written and directed by Swiss man Tim Fehlbaum, this interesting little 2011 flick portrays a world that's been hit by several solar flares over several years and how the people in it try to survive. So hoard all your water supply and apply some Sunblock 9000 as we take a look at hell. So the film begins by showing us a piece of text describing the situation. "2016, huh? Well, here's a good advice for anyone who's in writing. Never set your movie to a date where your audience can actually live past. Also, a rise in temperature described in the text probably wouldn't produce the results we see in this movie. At best, every biome would simply move up a notch. Boreal would become temperate, temperate tropical, and tropical probably savanna-like. But let's not worry about what could be. How about we focus about what this movie actually shows us? So we actually begin the movie with this stranded French couple that's fallen into a trap by bandits. At first glance, this scene seems completely pointless, but trust me, it'll all make sense in the end. Trust me, it will. We then finally cut to our protagonists, Marie, played by Hannah Herzsprung, her sister Leonie, played by Lisa Vicari, and Mary's quasi-sort-of boyfriend Philip, played by Lars Eidinger. The three are on their way to the Alps as they heard that it started to rain again above treeline. The three stop for supplies at an abandoned gas station, and through a few clever shots, we get a bit of backstory on what's been happening the past 4 years. And yes, it is a pretty jackass move to bring a kid into a dangerous situation like this, especially when you can get ambushed at any time. See? Told you so! The three get ambushed by a man who later describes himself as Tom, played by Stipe Ercek. We get a pretty intense scene where he threatens Leonie until Philip manages to subdue him. But since Tom knows a thing or two about car maintenance, they decide to strike a bargain and take him with them.
Wie viel Benzin hast du noch? Wie viele Pfirsiche hast du noch? Ich habe eine bessere Idee. Pass mal auf. Du besorgst den Ersatzriemen und sorgst dafür, dass der Motor läuft. Dafür nehmen wir dich auch mit und du kriegst was zu essen. Ein zweiter Mann wäre sowieso ganz gut.
The four of them drive through the deserted and burned-out landscape of southern Germany until their trip comes to an unintentional grinding halt at an inconvenient roadblock. By this point, you're probably asking yourself, where the hell did they film all this? I mean, they didn't actually burn down a designated piece of forest, did they? Well, thankfully no. All forest scenes were shot just after a devastating forest fire on Corsica in 2010, and the rest was shot in southern Bavaria. They remove the roadblock when Tom notices something odd down the slope below him. And what exactly is that? It's the crash site of the French couple we saw at the beginning of the movie. See what I said about this eventually making sense? So while the two guys inspect the crashed vehicle for supplies and gas, Leonie talks to her sister about Philip.
Der ist doch egal, oder? Hauptsache wir halten zusammen. Können wir nicht einfach weiterfahren? Jetzt, nur wir zwei? Du hast doch den Schlüssel. Marie? Marie, bist du da? Schon unterwegs. Siehst du, er hat dich im Griff.
Marie then tells Leonie to wait in the car while she goes down to the others, which, again, bonehead move on her part, and sure enough, just like the French couple, their car and Leonie get attacked by bandits. They of course try to chase after her, but in the process, Mary gets knocked down against a tree and passes out. After regaining consciousness, Marie reconvenes with Philip and Tom, who, after climbing a destroyed utility pole, spot smoke in the distance. They spot the bandits' camp, and as one of the captives tries to escape and the campsite is unprotected, the three come up with a daring plan to save Leonie and get their car back.
Du gehst zum Auto. Am Lenkrad hängen ein paar Kabel raus. Du musst den richtigen zwei zusammenhalten. Das ist leichter, als es sich anhört. Wenn das Ding hier losgeht, rennen alle hin. Konzentriere dich auf die Kabel. Probier alles durch. Irgendwann springt der Motor an. Dann werden die beschäftigt sein. Wir holen die Kleine und springen zu dir ins Auto. Schaffst du das?
However, their plan goes horribly, horribly wrong.
Was war mit Leonie? Marie, wir hatten keine Chance. Scheiße. Was war los? Mann, was los war? Es hat einfach überhaupt nichts funktioniert. Das war los. Diese bescheuerte Idee mit dem Molotow. Du hast es doch gar nicht versucht. Kannst du mir mal bitte sagen, wie man mit dem Klappmesser eine Eisenkette durchkriegen soll? Mann, die waren alle gefesselt. Soll ich deiner Schwester den Fuß abreißen? Mann, checkst du es nicht? Wir können nichts mehr für die tun. Wir fahren jetzt einfach weiter. Das ist unsere einzige Chance oder wir verrecken hier. Beide.
Add to this, Philip then sustains a leg injury as he and Marie try to flee with the car. And we soon find out just how severe the injury is when he and Marie are walking through a deserted railway tunnel. Luckily for them, the walkie-talkie they always carry with them shows some signs that Leonie is alive and even nearby, as the device only has a range of 3 kilometers. Since Philip is in no capacity to go any further, Marie leaves him behind and looks for help in Leonie until she finds refuge from the searing sun in an abandoned church. Lady, Jesus had nothing to do with anything that's going on in this movie. But you might just start placing your trust in the fireflies. Well, she doesn't find Jesus or anything, but she's found by an odd woman who we later come to know as Elizabeth, played by Angela Winkler. Marie then tells Elizabeth about what happened and that she's looking for her sister. Spent too much time in the sun, have we? I mean, why would you tell someone whom you've only met for several minutes who you are and what you're doing out here? But oddly enough, Elizabeth seems rather trustworthy and even agrees to get her son's help in finding Leonie. And I sure hope nothing creepy or insane happens on this farm, because I'm already getting a creepy The Walking Dead vibe. Elizabeth gives Marie a room, but through a slit of a boarded-up window, we see that things on Old MacDonald's farm aren't as pleasant as they first seemed. Of course, Marie wants to know what the hell's going on, and Elizabeth explains the situation.
Was macht ihr hier? Wir haben kein Vieh mehr. Wir müssen überleben. Was bleibt uns anderes übrig?
Okay, so now we're officially in the Walking Dead territory. What do I mean by that? Well, as you may or may not know, the second episode of the first season of The Walking Dead game has the exact same premise. In the episode, the characters arrive at a sufficiently guarded farm, only to discover that the residents there crave the other-like meat every now and then. But wait, it gets better. Not only are they keeping people as literal livestock, but Elizabeth has now officially become Major Henry West from 28 Days Later.
Du bist schön und gesund und genau im richtigen Alter. Mein Sohn braucht eine Frau, sonst geht's mit dem Hof hier nicht weiter. Und in ein paar Jahren ist deine Schwester auch soweit. Für den Flori. Denk an deine kleine Schwester. Braucht wieder eine richtige Familie.
With this information, the two immediately try to flee come nightfall by tying various pieces of clothing together, but then get interrupted by Micha, Elizabeth's aforementioned son, played by Johann Blanc. Marie tries to seduce him to not make him suspicious. This fails, but the two finally manage to subdue him and knock him out, after which Leonie manages to escape and flee into the nearby woods. And now we come to the dinner scene. Oh my, the dinner scene. I mean, it's not long or anything, but it's still creepy as fuck. And yes, it's probably taken directly from the Hills of Eyes movies. Hell, the family even prays before eating, just as in the second movie. And as much as I harp on this whole scenario, it is actually pretty creepy. And the creep factor is even intensified by the fact that, for all we know, Marie might as well be eating Tom or Philip. She tries to escape, but by now, Micha has woken up and knocks her out. She wakes up in the slaughterhouse-like basement of the farm, just in time to see Philip being slaughtered and taken for processing. See what I mean when I said about not telling anything about yourself to strangers? People you've only met for 5 minutes? Anyway, Marie manages to free herself and searches for her sister in the aforeseen shed where they keep all their human livestock. Question there. Do you think it's wise to keep something like an axe in the same place where you keep your sentient livestock? She soon finds the place where all the farm's prisoners are kept, and it turns out that Tom is still alive. They all try to flee, but by now, the family has already noticed that something is wrong. We then get a very intense and very well-lit chase scene as Marie and Tom run into the woods where she assumes Leonie to be. However, it turns out that Elizabeth and one of her other sons got there first and now have Leonie in their grip. When confronted by Marie, Elizabeth gives a typical, but thankfully not too over-the-top speech that Marie won't have anything of it and kills her captress. Using the momentary distraction, Marie unties Leonie, and together with Tom, they manage to escape. So, all is well. Or is it? Nah, they're fine. The last scene we see of them is them trying to scratch up some water from rocks when Leonie shows them two birds flying south toward the Alps. This is a reference to a scene we saw at the beginning of the movie where Philip sees the exact same thing. So, this was hell. And despite my comments about some of the characters' actions, it's a pretty damn good movie. The action is well paced, the characters and their actions are, for the most part, very believable, the scenario itself is real enough, seeing how the sun will eventually expand when turning into a red giant, and the cinematography and lighting are breathtaking. The best example of this is when all the prisoners flee the farm and open the gate. Seeing how your eyes are accustomed to the dark lighting of the farm's basement, the sheer rush of sunlight that comes at you really does give you the feeling of being blinded for a few seconds. What's also interesting about this movie is the name. Originally, it was supposed to be called 2016, Das Ende der Nacht, 2016, Night's End, until the title was changed to Hell, which, in fact, has two meanings. For one, it's a reference to the scary but fictional place Ray Comfort always warns us about, but it's also a German adjective meaning bright, as in the brightness of the searing sun. But there's something about this that kind of bugs me. I don't know about you. In the opening text, we saw that this entire thing takes place in 2016, and we've been told that this whole solar flare thing has been going on for 4 years now. That means since 2012. Why does that bug me so much? Emmerich, you slick bastard. I knew there was a reason why you wanted to sign up for this. So this was Das German Kritic, and, well, throughout this series, we've actually taken a look at, well, with the exception of maybe Rats, only good movies and a good book. So, yeah, alright. Might as well end this series with a real clunker. See you next time.